Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Welcome everybody, this is the Week in Italian Startup, where Nicolò and I will review some of the most important news happening in Italy in the startup ecosystem. So this is a weekly session. We always do it generally on a Monday. Today is on a Tuesday, but generally we're going to keep it that way. And we're available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast for the past episodes. So I think we are at about episode 13 or 14, this one, and we are rocking. So let's move on directly, and let's start with the news that Nicolò selected. All right, first one is Caracol, and since you guys in Primo Ventures, you are part of the deal, I would leave you to it and just to give us some insights about the deal. Caracol just generally is a company that does additive printing, essentially advanced 3D printing. I read that they have about 25 3D printers of different kinds and 4 robots. So they work in the boundaries between 3D printing and robotics. They raised around, and Primo Venture and EUREKA are a part of the deal. So Nico, take it away. Tell us some insights.
Yeah, ciao Jack, ciao everybody. So I have much fewer insights that you might believe it, because this is an investment from the Primo Space Fund. And I'm part of the Primo, let's say, of the digital practice of the firm. Mm-hmm. So I'm not directly involved with them and with their operations. But still, as you said, Caracol is an additive manufacturing startup. So not just 3D printing, that's about additive manufacturing. Sure. And they're operating at different levels. One of them, as you read correctly, as you said, is about offering services. So not by selling hardware, but selling access to advanced manufacturing capabilities, to design, to material selection. So they have a full stack approach to offering this type of services. And then with that, the objective large scale. So this is not about the small 3D printer that you put on your desktop. Mm-hmm. That's about industrial grade equipment that's actually more adapt in a sense for testing bigger and more complex type of materials and 3D prints and so on and so forth.
What is interesting is that these guys are fast. I mean, they started in 2018 by printing car components. So imagine the kind of infrastructure they need to do that in terms of 3D printing. As the pandemic kicked in, they basically pivoted toward doing masks in different kinds, I believe, in different shapes and forms. So they've been extremely fast. And now they're back into the industrial sector with this company as industrial services and prototyping. So, and I believe they tripled their revenues since 2019, something like that. It's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, they are. I don't know them, but apparently they are a great team, and they are, as you said, they're diversifying into different markets. And what they are doing is relevant for the space team, because they are starting to offering their services also to the aerospace sector, which is an avid user of this type of technologies, because you need precision, you need the speed in design and in testing different shapes and materials and so on and so forth. So I can see why the space team decided to invest in them.
Okay, and that's interesting. It's done through the Space Fund. So Primo Venture, the Space Fund, exactly. That's very, very important details. Very cool.
Yep.
Do you know if they have any customer in the space sector that are already active? I'm sure there is something there, because it kind of makes sense.
Honestly, I have no idea. As I said, we are not exactly Chinese world, but they're different teams, and we tend to operate as separate for this type of operations. But I expect that if they don't have customers in the aerospace, they will have some soon. Because
I agree. That's definitely functional also. So this is considered a seed round, 3.5 million. So it's a big seed actually for Italy. I would.
Let me say that I've been discussing about round labels in the last few days with different people.
Interesting.
I believe that's some bullshit. So
I mean,
let me say this straight. I mean,
I agree.
So Series A, Series B.
Who cares?
What does
actually,
it mean?
It's
just a label. It's just a label on the preference share. I mean,
I agree.
Or whatever you can call it, whatever you like, but it's still 3.5
it's awesome.
million.
It's awesome for sure.
To grow a business model.
So, shall we say something about EUREKA Ventures? I don't know too much about them, so I was curious how exactly they relate into the space. Are they making this kind of industrial investments, or they're more agnostic in terms of investment thesis? What is their structure?
Okay, so we met actually EUREKA Ventures, if you remember them, last time I believe, because they are the management company who's hosting Flagship Ventures. That's the MedTech fund that just launched. But their first fund, the one actually managed by the founders of EUREKA Venture, is a fund specialized in material science, in the broad sense. So probably they're seeing the industrial side of the investment, because I believe that Caracol has some proprietary R&D regarding the use of materials, developing new materials for additive manufacturing and stuff like that.
Awesome.
And to add one more bit to it, the fund managed by EUREKA Venture is one of the ITA funds that we talked about. So the funds that were started in order to sustain technology transfer from Italian research to actually the startups and the business.
Got it.
That's the trajectory.
Awesome. Makes sense.
The creation of EUREKA Venture.
Beautiful. All right, let's move on to Epicura. I remember meeting Epicura 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago in Turin. I believe they're from our area. And they started with different kind of medical services on demand and distributed in people's house. And their goal is really to become one of the big sort of clinic, like a virtual clinic in Italy. And they've been working extremely well. The founders are extremely hardworking people, and they just keep raising money. It's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I met them a few years back. Actually, they was just starting, so their growth has been quite good, I would say. And they actually evolved from the original vision that was a bit more specific to be to just the.
I think it was a physiotherapist, right?
Yes, exactly. At home.
A physiotherapist at home. That was the real first service, and now they do essentially like sort of senior assistants, like consulting online, psychology support, and psychotherapy. It's a bunch of they really like implemented a bunch of services. Very cool.
Exactly, and it makes sense because once you are on, you can prove that you can serve your customers at home with one service, and it's makes sense to start expanding your portfolio. And I like this vision of being a digital health clinic at your home. So
I agree. Maybe that's.
I would say there are many players. Now that I've seen in the last few months that in Italy try to do the same, but still they started probably earlier and they learned quite a lot in the last couple of years because people could not go out. So
totally, that definitely got accelerated, and maybe that's the future of medicine, where the first consultation is online. via whatever phone or whatnot. And then when you need like some physical assistance, then you pop in and then you go wherever you need to be. Maybe that's how to streamline a very, sometimes painful process of going to the doctor, waiting hours, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is like it's a big problem actually. So
yep.
Awesome jobs.
Agreed.
Big round. Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, big round, exactly. I believe you were saying it. You were going to say it. So the lead investor in the round.
Actually, no. Why?
So if you take the
wait.
lead investor in the round, it's not a VC. It's not a VC firm.
You're right.
It's an insurance company.
It's an insurance company, indeed. Europ Assistance Italia. From Gruppo Generali, which is our big friends and a big protagonist in this podcast, where they keep appearing. I mean, that's another proof that these guys they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. We like them. We should involve them in the podcast at some point.
Yeah, hopefully they are listening. So they shoot us a message. We are happy to host you.
We send them a link.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, Generali is one of the biggest company in Italy, along with probably Banca Intesa in the insurance and banking sector. So it makes sense that they're quite active across the board. But I think it says something that the lead investor here is an insurance company specialized in consumer insurance.
Yeah. Definitely a very solid round, I would say, because you have Gruppo Generali, 3 million out of 5, and then you have basically all the RSL network, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, wealth manager in Italy. So it's an extremely solid, an extremely solid operation for sure. And there you go. Also Club degli Investitori from Turin is part of the shareholding. So extremely solid. They've been following Epicura since the beginning. So it's awesome. It's pretty awesome. Good job, guys. Awesome if they're listening. All right. Irish startup 4Securitas. I was reading and I trying to figure out why you included this, and I kind of brought up this very interesting fund, Cysero, I don't know. And there is a really interesting backstory down there. But let's start from the raise.
Yes, 4Securitas is an Irish startup. They are in the cybersecurity sector, which is a vertical that I actually like quite a lot. They are on the defense side, intrusion detection, using machine learning, AIs, and stuff like that. So quite interesting. Actually, the founder is Italian.
Interesting.
So it's another reason why that startup is on the newsletter.
Sure.
And as you said, the investor is this, I don't know the pronunciation, Cysero.
Maybe, yeah.
No.
Which is operated by an SGR, which is a company in Italy that manages funds, essentially like savings. And it's AVM Gestioni. And I was digging, and basically also a very interesting story. This is like a private SGR, of course. They launched a few funds, actually 5 different funds. One of the funds is Cysero, and they specialize in robotics and cybersecurity. Interesting fact is that AVM Gestioni is also co-founded by Bombassei, which is the president of Chilometro Rosso and part of the sort of the Brembo family. So the big break-in company in Italy, Chilometro Rosso, is basically where they do a lot of their R&D. And there you go. I mean, a huge
They know something about robotics, industrial,
indeed,
advanced industrial mechanics, mechatronics, stuff like that. So
absolutely.
That's knowledge.
Very, very valuable for sure. Yeah, it's this is the first operation of the fund for Securitas, and the fund is well, the target is pretty big. Is 100 million. It's a closed fund, and managed by the AVM Gestioni SGR. Very cool. I was checking on actually, I was kind of snooping into the management fees of Italian funds. That's kind of on the expensive side for a VC. It's like, I mean, it's industry, but it's on the expensive side, I would say.
2.5%.
2.5,
yeah. Usually we tend to stay on the 220 traditional breakdown between fees and credit interest.
Yeah.
2.5. I mean, they are selling their knowledge probably.
Of course.
They can do that.
It's a verticalized fund, exactly. Is extremely cool. I was also, if I remember well, it's interesting to also see the other funds that they have in portfolio, because they, it doesn't show much, but essentially, there you go. Yeah, they do basically. This is between. These are the company in one of their fund. This is the Fondo Talent. And they are in between sort of VC/private equity, I would say. So they do not only like digital companies or tech companies, they also do more traditional consumer company like sunglasses, some services, like Kite, yeah, I know them. It's basically fashion. So it's they're looking into like I would say innovative industries all across the border, not only digitized companies, but definitely a fund, a company that is worth looking into. Have you come across AVM Gestioni with Primo Venture somehow, or it's kind of the first time?
Not that I know of. Maybe some other person from the team, but we never met on a deal that I know.
Yeah. Cool, interesting.
Right. I believe we start meeting them thanks to Cysero, Cysero.
Yeah, I mean the intersection point is cybersecurity for sure between you and
that. That's much closer.
Awesome. Let's talk about Objectway, leading provider of wealth and asset management software. So here we have an acquisition. Basically, this is an Italian company doing software for wealth managers and banking, and they acquired basically their own counterpart in Germany. So yeah, they start as basically a support company that does front end and back end development for banks and wealth management. All kind of services that are needed into the wealth management industry. So from fund administration to the governance, portfolio management, etc. And basically, they acquired another software company in Germany to leverage their German network.
Yeah, not much to add here. So that's neither of them is actually a startup, I would say, but still is an M&A operation in the software market, in the fintech banking software market in particular. So. That's something I would say that's interesting to be aware of.
Awesome. Another operation.
And Objectway is quite one of the rather big companies that you don't hear about often, but still they're quite important in terms of
I never heard about them, but I believe this is one of those companies that operate sort of behind closed doors and more in the back end, and so you don't hear much about them, but probably they look like they're pretty much everywhere in this space. I mean, there are not so many wealth managers, if you will, so the people that are specialized, verticalized in that kind of software, it's definitely like something that they can leverage across different clients, and it's a very good niche for sure.
And yeah, it is not a small company. I'm looking on LinkedIn and there are 530 employees.
Wow, impressive.
Not small.
Didn't expect that. Awesome. Fantastic. So another acquisition last week is essentially Triboo, acquiring 69.5% of Adglow Italia. This is a digital marketing play where essentially Triboo is a listed company, is a public listed company here in Italy. They've been into the digital e-commerce space for very, very long, And now they are sort of completing the spectrum of services, adding Adglow, which specialize in advertising in general, more in general.
Yeah. Again, not much to add here. So this is a small acquisition, I would say.
Yeah.
The article says something about the numbers. So 750,000 euros, I would say. For
correct.
Almost 70% of the company.
A
small one, but still
small and strategic.
Something to be aware of.
Awesome. All right. Another acquisition coming up is Federico Isenburg acquiring basically the majority of Nutribees. Nutribees is a company that does healthy meal, like prepped meal delivery. So you customize your own meal, and then they deliver it to your house on a subscription base. And so what is the story of this acquisition? And honestly, I didn't know this person, so I was very curious about reading his story. And that's interesting.
Well, of course. So Federico is an entrepreneur, and he was the founder of Easy Welfare, a welfare company, classic welfare company, probably one of the first actually offering the digital first welfare proposition. He sold the company to Edenred a few years back, scaling to quite a sizable business. And I've met him a few times, and he's very, very sharp, very good, very personable actually. And I knew that sooner or later he would, jump back into being an entrepreneur/angel. And in this operation, it seems that he's found a market where there is opportunity, because together with Mega Holding, he acquired the majority of Nutribees and is taking the CEO role in the company. So,
and Mega Holding, what is the story? Do you know, like what are other companies? It's more of a vehicle that they're using to sort of manage the operation, probably.
No, I don't know much about Mega Holding. So we should actually, if I don't know whether he's listening, but we should actually ask him. If he wants to come on the podcast, on the show.
Awesome. Yep. So let's take some notes. We need the Generali people. We need like Federico. We need to write everything down.
We'll be calling a few people today. So maybe. Well, I don't know. Maybe someone is listening.
Yeah. I mean, we will have a surprise soon, probably. So for the people listening on Clubhouse, there will be a guest at some point, but related to the space ecosystem. But we'll reveal it later on when it's locked in. All right, moving on. Our friends, Cassa Depositi e Prestiti Venture Capital, again, these guys are moving at the speed light. They announced the launch of Fondo Corporate Partners I. So it's fund number 9, specifying, trying to specialize on 4 very defined verticals, some of which are more traditional, some of which I never heard the label, like infratech, infrastructure technology. It's a good, nice Italianized way to put it. They're aiming at 400 million, so basically 100 million per vertical. And I think they're already on their way to close about like 60. Actually, no. They raised 180, and then they're like trying to push it up. To actually launch it as soon as possible. And here is the news. Yeah,
not much to add here. So this is one of the but let me say it in this way. This is CDP leveraging on their position, because as you probably as you know, but maybe some listener doesn't. CDP is the Italian state bank, and they've got a lot of direct and indirect participation also in the biggest Italian enterprises. Participation in stakes. That means that they've got leverage in order to push this type of companies to invest in startups on the markets, and that they created these specific funds in order to involve Italian enterprises into investing in their in innovation focus on their specific market. So, for example, if I'm not wrong, in the first vertical, the industry tech, one of the key investors is Marcegaglia, which is a big industrial group.
Yeah, huge family in Italy about industry of all sort, metals of many sort, and not only, of course, a huge group. And it's a very good angle, trying to involve corporation, like huge corporation, into the startup game. Yeah, my only concern, to be honest with you, is that, 9 funds, some of them seems also a little bit overlapping. So, between, I think they have like 5 accelerator program, 9 funds, the job platform, they have a huge operation over here. I don't know, especially from the fund side, how effective they're going to be. I mean, they try to verticalize each fund in a thematic way. So one financing, for example, the one I'm seeing here, the accelerator program. Some other more on the impact side. Then we have the corporation. And then we also have the funds of funds. So a compartment that actually invests in venture capital funds, which makes actually a lot of sense. But I can see how there is maybe some overlapping over here. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play everything out.
Well, that's probably a matter of how the specific teams managing the different funds will be able to interact with each other. Which is something that, again, I'm curious about. I know, of course, a lot of people working in the different funds. They are great professionals. So I have very good expectations about what they're going to do. And they're actually working quite closely with the ecosystem. At least we have very good and continuous relationships with them.
Awesome. Do we know?
That's very fast. As you said, they've been growing like crazy, and for sure, it's not easy to manage such a fast scaling structure. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, I was wondering, do we know of how much of money is going to be deployed through those funds, through those 9 funds, the total amount?
The total amount?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. Originally, the capital allocation for the Fondo Nazionale of Innovazione, so the original project from which CDP Venture Capital was born out of, was 1 billion.
Yeah. So 1 billion just
1 billion.
So 1 billion just allocated to basically the different funds, on top of which they are involving other co-investors essentially. So for example, in the corporate funds, they have 180 million from the allocation. And then on top of that, they have basically some other money coming from the corporation. So it's a great way. So it's a big leverage actually. Very, very interesting. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see them deploy the capital.
Yeah, I was checking actually how is the portfolio looks like. I mean, very famous names all across different brands. Some of the startup that we talked about before, a few of them, very well-known names. I mean, I'm not going to go through the 6 pages, but we can definitely see. Oh, there you go. Some friends of yours, some people from Cabit. Awesome. Good stuff. All right. Let's talk about crowdfunding, because Italy has been essentially very active in the equity crowdfunding space. And one of the news you mentioned is actually that there has been a very, very strong trend in the space, in the equity crowdfunding space.
And that was an interesting piece of research. I don't know about other countries, but it seems that crowdfunding in Italy is covering quite a bit of the seed and pre-seed stage for Italian startups. So according to their research, this year so far, almost half of the investments up to 8 million euros, which is the threshold for crowdfunding. So basically everything from pre-seed to most Series A's.
Yeah.
Almost half of those by number and 1/5 of those by total amount so have been completed on a crowdfunding platform.
Wow.
So €1 every 5 comes from the crowd.
Wow.
Which is sounds like quite a bit to me.
I mean, it's a lot. And the usual problem in Italy that we talk about all the time is there is no space between series late seed and Series A. Either we have some early stage or we have like late stage. I don't know if it's if equity crowdfunding can actually replace professionals in terms of bringing companies up to the later rounds. So I'm not a big fan of equity crowdfunding in general. So my concern would actually be, would like a non-professional democratized investing crowd be capable of moving startup up to the ladder of the next rounds? I don't think so, to be honest. And for a very simple reason, because it's just more about, I mean, it's not only about the money. The money is great, but again, most of the movement upward is done through professional VCs actually helping out raising the next funds. And equity crowdfunding is buying a ticket, hoping that the company I support is awesome, and probably it will. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to work, but it's going to be tough. So I don't think it's going to solve the problem of this sort of capital hole, if you will, for the Italian ecosystem, which is late seed back to Series B and C.
Yes. So I kind of agree with you, actually. In particular, when you say that, yes, money, but in particular when we're talking about these little tickets, it's the value comes from connections, experience, value brought on the table from the investors. So I totally agree with you. But I mean, I'm a seed investor, so of course I'm supposed to say this. Of course. But still, the more I observe what happens, the more that's true. On the other hand, if you will, there's this obligation by the law that when raising crowdfunding, at least a small percentage of the round must come from a professional investor. Mm-hmm. So the law tried to somehow
help involve professionals. I see. Interesting.
If you want, that might be just a half-hearted solution, because if I remember well, the minimum amount to be subscribed by professional investors is like 5%.
Oh wow! So it's really not right. It's not enough. It's definitely not enough. I see.
Mm-hmm. But the lawmaker thought about it in a way,
which is good. But it's still not enough for sure to build up a strong ecosystem. All right, Nico. I think our time is up. Thank you everybody for listening. Again, this is the Week in Italian Startup. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, your favorite podcasting tools. And our next session is going to be on Mondays or Tuesday, because we have a lot of participation on Tuesday. We might consider moving it. So, unless there is any question from Bernard, Ulikis, Stefano, please feel free to raise your hand and jump in the conversation. We still have a few minutes to interact with you guys, curiosities, questions, whatever we can help with. Otherwise, I'll see you next week with another episode.
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
So,
all right.
We are good.
We're good. We've been extremely clear and exhaustive. Fantastic. Also.
Or absolutely impossible to understand.
Exactly. It's either one or the other. I like to think the first, of course.
Yeah, optimistic. Okay, Jack, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you in a week.
I'll see you next week. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.